is my heart's speech. Your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله الأمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before we take your calls, we'll, as usual, take few questions pending from the emails. And the question is from Yusra. She says that I had deposited a small amount of money in the bank as a fixed deposit without any interest. The bank did a raffle draw for a cash prize and I won. Is it okay for me to accept the money? First of all, when you give your money to the bank, you have to categorize it and you have to look at it from an Islamic point of view, in the sense that if it was not the bank, if it was someone else and you gave him this money, what do you classify this money to be? Would it be a deposit, in the sense that if the person's house was burnt to the ground and your money was lost, would you be able to claim that money from him Islamically? The answer is no. Why? Because he was doing you a favor. He was keeping the money for safekeeping until you ask for it back again. Or this money could be a loan. And this is a different story, because if you lent your money to a person and his house was burnt to the ground, you still have the right to go and ask him for that money. And he's obliged to pay it back to you because it's a loan. He guarantees it. While in the first place, a deposit, he does not guarantee it. He was just doing you a favor. Now let's look at the banks and their systems. When I deposit an amount of money at a bank, or when I open a bank account and the bank was burnt to the ground, it was robbed, it declared bankruptcy, is my money gone down the drain? And the answer is no. The bank guarantees it and he has to pay back every single penny of it. Therefore, this is considered to be a loan to the bank. And therefore, scholars say that whatever comes to you as a depositor from the bank is considered to be an interest. So whether it's a raffle draw, whether it's a bonus, it's a gift, it's whatever it is, this is not permissible for you to take. I believe we have a caller. Farida from KSA.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Yes, I would like to ask about fasting on Dhul Hijjah.
About fasting?
Yeah?
You want to ask about?
I would like to ask about Dhul Hijjah fasting.
Okay. What is the question? You want to know, is it permissible or not?
No, I would like to ask, are we supposed to fast from the fast or until the night?
I'm unable to understand your question.
Are we supposed to fast from the fast Dhul Hijjah until the night?
Okay. Are we supposed
That's
to?
all the question.
Okay, I'll answer your question, inshallah.
Inshallah. Shukran.
I'm having a problem with the earpiece. It's a little bit too high for me. That's why I could not understand the question. The sister, Farida, is asking about fasting the 9 days of the Hijjah. If I understood her question correctly, it is part of the sunnah to fast these 9 days, because the Prophet ﷺ said that there are no days throughout the whole year better to offer good deeds in them more than these 9 days or 10 days of the Hijjah. And a man said, even jihad in the cause of Allah? And the Prophet said, even jihad. It is not equivalent to the good deeds in these 10 days of the Hijjah, except for a person who goes and fights for the cause of Allah and takes his wealth with him, and he does not return with any, neither his life nor his wealth. Now, a lot of the confusion rise among the brothers and sisters when they think that because I've missed the first day, and as we know, today, Friday, is the first day in Saudi Arabia. So, if I miss the first day, can I still fast the remaining 7 days or 8 days, including Arafah? The answer is yes. You're not obliged to fast the whole 9 days. And you're not obliged to fast most of them. You can pick and choose whatever days you wish, because it is part of the voluntary fasting. So if you skip the first day, second day, third day, whatever, you can resume fasting the remaining days without any problem for the missed days. The other thing is that a lot of the brothers and sisters don't know that you can even make up for the missed days of Ramadan in these preferred days. So if a lady has 1 day missed in Ramadan and she wants to make it up on the day of Arafat, which the Prophet told us ﷺ, that it expiates, Allah forgives the sins of 2 years for those who fast the day of Ramadan, you can make up for the day of Ramadan on the day of Arafat, and you get 2 birds with 1 stone. You had the day of Ramadan made up, and you also get the reward of 2 years with the grace of Allah Azza wa Jal. Brother Hamza from Saudi Arabia.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah.
I love you for the sake of Allah.
Allah.
Sir, last time I asked the question about the place between the Azan and the Iqamah.
About
So if in Fajr there is, in between the Azan and Iqamah is only the Sunnah of Fajr. So if a person does Sunnah at home, then he goes to the mosque and masjid, and he between the Azan and Iqamah, can he pray Tahiyatul Masjid, or does he have to stand?
Okay.
And second question is that while giving the Azan, before giving the Azan, is wudu a condition for giving the Adhan, or is it recommended?
Okay, I will answer your question, inshallah. Wa jazakum. Brother Hamza has 2 questions. And the first question, I believe we've answered it last time he asked it, but probably maybe I forgot to clarify it, and maybe I forgot to, or he did not listen to the answer. The thing is, the Prophet said, ﷺ, between 2 adhans, meaning the adhan and the iqamah, there is a prayer, meaning voluntary prayer, which is sunnah. The exception is in Fajr, because there is another hadith where the Prophet says, ﷺ, that there is no prayer after the sunnah of the Fajr except the faridah. And it is not permissible to offer voluntary prayers after the 2 rak'ahs of Sunnat al-Fajr. And Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, may Allah have mercy on his soul, saw once a man in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ praying 2 rak'ahs between the adhan and the iqamah of Fajr. And he called this young man and said, my son, the Prophet ﷺ forbade us from praying between the adhan and the iqamah except for the 2 rak'ahs of Fajr. So the man arrogantly said, do you think that Allah would punish me for praying for him? And Sa'id said, Allah would not punish you for praying for him, but He would punish you for going against the sunnah. Now, if you pray in the home, this is the best thing for you to do, because this is what the Prophet used to do, ﷺ. He used to pray Sunnat al-Fajr in his house, and then goes to the masjid. If you go to the masjid and the iqamah is not called yet, and you have to sit down, we have another hadith stating that do not sit down until you pray 2 rak'ahs. So you pray 2 rak'ahs and you sit down. The answer last time Brother Hamza asked us, we said no, if you did not pray home and you went straight to the masjid and you only pray then 2 rak'ahs of Sunnat al-Fajr, and this does the job for you, inshaAllah. The second question of Brother Hamza was about ablution, and he's saying, is it permissible for a person to call the adhan while not in the state of purity, the minor purity, that is, he did not perform ablution? And the most authentic opinion is that it is not a requirement. So it is permissible for me, if I'm the muadhin, to enter the masjid not in the state of purity, call for the adhan, and then go back to my house or to the lavatories and perform wudu, and this would do the job, inshaAllah. Brother Maqsood Adam has a question. He says that I have a close relative who is married with children and lives in a house which is not his own but been lent to him rent free. He has a source of income but just enough to manage. We have been asked to collect zakah for him in order that he may purchase his own home. Does he qualify to receive zakat? And the answer is no. You cannot give zakat to someone who wants to purchase a house, because this would not make him as a poor person. You can give him rent, you can help him in his rent, you can help him in buying food or things that are necessary for him, but to purchase him a land or a house, this is definitely not permissible, because there are so many people are in far dire need than this brother who needs to purchase a house. Abdul Hakim from Nigeria.
Hello?
Yes, brother Abdul Hakim.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
I wanted to ask.
Yes, bro.
My question is on family.
Yes.
My question is on family planning. In Nigeria, you see a family, somebody who is not well-to-do will have 4 wives and will have about 35 children that he cannot cater for. What is the position of family planning in Islam when we consider this kind of situation?
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam wa rahmatullah. Brother Abdul Hakim is asking about the problem of people getting married to more than one wife, 3, 4 wives, and having like 2 or 3 dozens of children. So he's asking, what is the ruling on family planning? In Islam, the Prophet ﷺ encouraged us to reproduce. And he said, have as many children as you can, because I will boast about you or with you on the day of judgment. I will go to the prophets and messengers and say, look at my ummah. So it is recommended for the Muslims to reproduce and to have children. It is recommended for Muslims to get married and to make Muslim families. But this is one side of the equation. You have to look at the whole picture. Islam does not tell you to reproduce and then end up with having your children as criminals or illiterate or people who are a burden on the society rather on benefiting the society. Islam tells you to reproduce, but at the same time it tells you that there lies a great responsibility over your shoulders. Your shoulders are burdened by taking care of those who are your responsibility. And that is why you have to make your level best in upbringing your children in the way that is accordance to the Quran and Sunnah, and in the way that they would benefit their society and their community. However, we cannot condemn people because they have 2 or 3 or 4 wives, as long as they can afford it financially, and they are trying their level best socially to have a good and upbringing for their children. They have done what they are supposed to do. And if they have a black sheep in the family, if they fail to upbring 1 or 2 of the children, this is not their problem if they did their level best. Because Nuh, peace be upon him, his son died as a kafir. And no one can point a finger at our messenger Nuh, peace be upon him, to say that he did not do a good job with his children. So family planning per se is not recommended. It is permissible if a woman is tired and she has so many kids and she's unable to take care of them, so she needs a period of 2 to 3 years pause so that she can take care of the children until they can manage on their own. This is permissible. But to completely sterilize a woman or a man so that they would not reproduce just because they have enough children or they would like to enjoy the rest of their lives, this is not permissible. Allah knows best. Nazira from Saudi Arabia.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam.
I have a question for you.
Okay, please turn down the volume of the TV.
Yeah. I come from a non-Muslim country,
Okay.
and before coming from my country, I had to keep my jewelry for safety in a bank.
Okay.
I had to pay a fixed deposit, and the interest from which it comes, they are taking it as service charge. I have nothing, no money to pay except for this fixed deposit. When I go back and if I have to take the jewelry back, they will give the jewelry plus my money.
Okay, so you have two accounts.
Sheikh.
This means that you have two accounts: a deposited money, and a safe box for your jewelry.
Yeah. Locker. They give a locker to keep the jewelry safe.
Okay, I will answer your question, inshallah. Sister Nazira is saying that she comes from a non-Muslim country, and before she came, she rented a safety deposit box in a bank where she already has, or apparently it is one of the preconditions for the bank to be able to deposit your jewelry in their safety deposit boxes, that you have a bank account. So she did so, but it appears that also it is part of the conditions for this bank account is that they mandatorily give you interest over whatever you have deposited. So she's asking now if I'll be going back in a couple of years time, and when I would like to, or when I want to take back my jewelry, they'll give me my cash which I deposited in a bank account plus interest. So what should I do? To me, depositing or putting your jewelry in a safety deposit box is permissible. Paying the bank for it, let's say it's $150, let's say it's $100 a year, hypothetically speaking. This is halal because it's a service that the bank is offering you. The problem is with the money deposited. So to me, I would calculate how much you paid them for the safety deposit box, which they deducted from the interest of your bank account. And this amount you have to pay for sadaqah, for charity. I'll explain that to you in a little bit easier way. If they're charging me $100 for this safety deposit box, and they've been deducting it from my bank account or from the interest on the money in my bank account, and I've been here in Saudi Arabia for 4 years, this means that they've deducted $400 as service charges. If I go back, I can only take what is mine that I've deposited. I deposited $5,000 initially. Now it's $6,500 plus interest. I can only take the $5,000. $1,500 I have to get rid of it as for charity. And plus that, I have to pay the $400 that the bank deducted as service charges from the interest, because this is something I have to pay from my own money. So I hope this clears it a little bit. Brother Ahmed from Bahrain.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Two quick questions, sir.
Yes, sir.
One is about fasting on Arafah Day.
Okay.
Now, in my country, the moon is sighted generally one day after in the Middle East.
Okay.
So would the people in my country need to fast on the proper Arafah Day, meaning the day the pilgrims go to Arafah in Saudi Arabia, or do they have to fast for the Arafah Day per the sighting of of my country?
Gotcha.
This is the first question.
Okay.
The second question is, Sheikh, inshallah, me and my wife are planning to go on a trip soon, and the trip total duration is 6 days. During these 6 days, would it be permissible for both of us to do shortening and joining of our prayers, or would we need to do full prayers after we reach our destination?
You're traveling abroad, right?
Yeah, traveling abroad, Sheikh.
Okay.
These are the two questions. I have one comment, please, if you don't mind.
Okay, I hope it's not negative.
No, inshallah, it is positive. Sheikh, the telephone number for the contact number for the program, I would recommend if you can ask your control to put it all the time, because I had to write it down over six or seven times. Get the full number, Sheikh, if you don't mind.
Okay, the brothers in the control room will display our telephone number, and they will keep it for half a minute to a minute so that the people can record it down. The brothers, inshallah, will do that to you. I'll answer your question, Brother Ahmed. First of all, fasting the day of Arafah, does it have to be the day of Arafah in Saudi Arabia where everybody is performing Hajj? Because it's called the day of Arafah, so it should be the day that the people stand in Arafah, which would be Saturday, inshallah. Or every country has its different sighting of the moon. It's an issue of dispute among scholars, and the most authentic opinion is that every country, as in the case of Eid al-Fitr, which follows Ramadan, every country has their own Eid. So if they have witnesses to go and sight the moon, and they sight the crescent, and the moon is born, in this case they fast regardless whether Saudi Arabia is a day ahead or a day behind or on the same day. Likewise in Arafah, if we will inshallah be fasting Saturday as it is Arafah, the people in India probably would be fasting on Sunday. This is okay. The people in the USA would be probably fasting Friday. This is completely okay, and it's normal, and the reward will be inshallah awarded. As for shortening your prayers and combining, if you're traveling abroad, you have the right to shorten your prayer and combine it when necessary. Combining is when necessary, but shortening it is all the time. Dhuhr, Asr and Isha to be prayed 2 rak'ahs. Fajr and Maghrib do not change, of course. As long as you are labeled as a traveler, you can do this, whether it's a day, 4 days, 10 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, as long as you're considered to be traveling. But the minute you settle down and rent an apartment and get it, furnish it, then in this case it's a different story, and you become like a residing person, a resident, and you have to complete your prayer. Now, something worth noting is that for a woman we have no problem. For a man, if you're traveling, for example, to Saudi Arabia, and wherever you go, you'll hear the adhan. If you hear the adhan, it's mandatory for you to come and attend the prayer with the congregation, because the Prophet told ﷺ, the blind man, do you hear the adhan? And he said yes. He said you have to respond and pray with the congregation. Brother Mahmoud from Oman.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The first will have the Mabruk to all. I have one question, please.
Yes, sir.
The person who is sacrificing the goat or whatever, so he should not cut his nail and his head. In the light of Sunnah and Quran, can you give some explanation about this?
He should not what?
The nails and hair should not
nails,
be cut.
okay,
The person who is performing the sacrifice.
Oh, okay. I will tackle this inshallah. Brother Mahmoud from Oman is asking, what is the ruling on the person who wants to sacrifice udhiyah? There is a hadith, and he would like to know this hadith. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that whenever the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah begin, and one of us intends to slaughter his sacrifice, he should not touch his nails or his hair, meaning the whole body. He should not touch the hair of his whole body, even the mandatory parts that we're supposed to remove, such as the pubic hair and the armpit hair. For Muslims, they have to remove this and keep the area clean, as it's part of the fitrah. But during the 10 days, or until you slaughter your sacrifice, you're not allowed to neither clip your nails or touch your hair. Of course, I'm not talking about shaving for men, because shaving for men is haram all year round. It's forbidden for a man to shave his beard. But I'm talking about the rest of the body. So you cannot have a haircut. Women cannot remove the hair on their arms or legs, etc. You cannot clip your nails. You cannot shorten or trim your mustache. All of this for men. All of this is not permissible. But This is only for the person who's sacrificing. And I've mentioned this before, I am the bread earner in the house. So I'm the one who earns, I'm the one who's going to sacrifice. Therefore, I'm the one who's supposed to not touch my nails or my hair. My family, my wives, my children, if I have others living in the house of my relatives, my cousins, my aunts, my mother, etc., they are not included because they're not sacrificing. And again, it is not mandatory for a whole household except to sacrifice one sheep, or to be part of 7 parts in a camel or in a cow. But other than that, it is not mandatory. If they want to offer 2 or 3 or 4, it is permissible. But is it mandatory as some people think? No, it is not. Abu Abdullah from the Emirates.
Yes, for your valuable guidance to your question and answer system. Is it one question? Is it allowed to travel for a woman and her children together alone? Say from India to Dubai or Saudi by direct flight, that is one, or maybe coming through, say, by Oman here, stopping over at Oman is the second part. The third part is how long they can, if it is allowed, for how many days they can travel together.
So you're asking me about traveling without a mahram?
Pardon me?
You're asking me about them traveling without a mahram?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Traveling the woman and her children, without her husband or brother.
How old is the child? The oldest?
Say one is around 18, girls, 2 girls, and boys. Boys are very young, maybe 12 years old.
Okay, I'll answer your question, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Brother Abu Abdullah's question from the Emirates will, inshallah, go through it just after the break, so stay tuned.
Nor that, it seems very well complicated and confusing to many Muslims, especially when it comes to the saying of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَكُلَّ مُحْدَثَةٍ بِدْعَةٍ, and Sayyidina Umar saying, نِعْمَةُ الْبِدْعَةُ هَذِهِ. Let us set up the very comprehensive definition of bid'ah according to Islamic law.
The pilgrim should take useful items such as food and water, an umbrella to protect himself or herself from the sun, a spare pair of sandals, an adequate supply of medication with a doctor's certificate describing the medication so as to avoid problems with customs.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا.
This is part of our deen. This is part of our iman. That when we go for Hajj, we should not have the intentions that once we go back to the same old habits. One of these meanings that we learn in the journey of Hajj is how to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we learn how to reach it in the journey of Hajj. And this is something that we learn in the journey of Hajj by pondering over the verses in the Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that in the Quran in Surah Al-Hajj. And that's why a Muslim in the journey of Hajj, in all of our life, a Muslim should be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those who are making Hajj to accept their Hajj, and for those who were not able to make Hajj, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide them to make them and give them the means to perform the act of worship.
لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك لا شريك لك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. Abu Abdullah's question from the Emirates, he's asking about a woman traveling with her children without a mahram. Is this permissible, whether from India to Dubai or from India via Oman to Dubai? And when I asked him about the age of the children, he said that the boy who is the only person to be qualified as a mahram, because a female cannot be a mahram. And he said that he was 12 years old. And the answer would be as follows. The Prophet ﷺ stated in the authentic hadith in the Sahih that it is not permissible for a woman who believes in Allah and the Day of Judgment to travel without a mahram. End of story. So the Prophet ﷺ is the one who stated it is not permissible. So if you ask me the question, I will tell you the hadith. If you would say, okay, Sheikh, but they are traveling in an airplane, and I'm the one who's taking her to, her father is taking her to the airport in Mumbai or in Delhi or in Chennai, and I'm receiving her in Dubai in the airport. So it's only the couple of hours or an hour and a half flight. Again, what is she labeled as? Is she a traveler? The answer is yes. Is she traveling? The answer is yes. The Prophet said that it is not permissible. And we all know what happened a couple of years ago with, I think it's the Iceland volcano. Was it Fanish? I'm not sure. I think it's in Iceland, where the volcano erupted and all flights to and from Europe were jeopardized and they were grounded. And we've seen hundreds of thousands of people stranded in airports. So imagine your wife, or imagine a sister or a daughter is one of them being stranded for so many days, and you don't know who will sit next to her. And she may need help, she may need assistance. So the Prophet ﷺ, without giving any justification, he ﷺ stated that it is not permissible, full stop, and this is the only answer that any Muslim can provide regarding the traveling of a woman without a mahram. Sister Maryam from Nigeria.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
I have 3 questions.
Okay.
My first question is, if a husband wants to sacrifice his wife and the wife has money, is it allowed for the husband to sacrifice for her, even though she has the money for the sacrifice? That is one question. Then the second question is about removing hair and cutting nails. What of combing hair for a woman? Can she comb her hair or no? Then the third question is, what if a woman is having her menses on the day of Arafah and she cannot fast? What is she supposed to do?
Okay, I'll answer your questions, inshallah. Sister Maryam has 3 questions, and the first question is, if a woman, if the wife is rich and she has money, and she wants to offer udhiyah, yet the husband insists on paying for her udhiyah as well. First of all, it is not mandatory for the wife to give udhiyah. It is sufficient for the husband to slaughter 1 sheep for the whole house, as mentioned before the break. But if she has money and she would like to sacrifice, this is permissible. If the husband is donating and volunteering to pay for it, again, this is permissible. And she has to stop like he stops from clipping the nails or cutting the hair. As for the second question, combing the hair is not cutting it. So you are allowed to comb your hair. One would say, wouldn't this cause in 3 or 4 pieces of the hair falling whenever I comb? Well, this is not deliberate, first of all. This is not intended. And this does not go alongside when the Prophet ﷺ forbid us not to touch the hair, in the sense that not to cut it, not to shave it, not to remove it. But combing the hair is permissible, and there's nothing wrong in that, even if it results in some of the hair falling. As for the sisters who have their menses on the day of Arafat, and I presume that she is talking about people who are residing, not about the people in Arafah actually performing Hajj. If this is the case, then she cannot fast. Obviously, she cannot pray, obviously, but she can do everything else. She can remember Allah Azza wa Jal, she can make dhikr, she could make a takbir, as we know from today until the day of last day of a tashriq. We always offer takbir, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Lillahi alhamd. Not after the prayers. We offer takbir in the streets, in the markets, in our houses, in the offices, in our cars, whenever we are, 24/7. Throughout these sacred days and nights, we offer takbir, glorifying Allah Azza wa Jal. She can also, the sister who has her menses, she can recite the Quran, she can listen to beneficial things, she can connect to her next of kin, and she can pay and give charity. All of the good deeds she can do, inshallah, on the day of Arafah and before that. Brother Mustafa from Nigeria, Assalamu alaikum.
My question is on the issue of the. So I want to ask the question regarding
I did not get your question because I'm hearing myself from the TV set. If you turn off. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
I'm not.
What is your question?
I'll call back, inshallah.
Okay. So he
I
goes.
don't know what you're asking.
Okay, I think Brother Mustafa is going to call back again. We have a question from Ahmed from Finland. He says, I'm now a practicing Muslim, alhamdulillah, but for many years I did not pray. So what can I do now about this? This question is frequently asked by brothers and sisters all over the world. They, for some time of their lives, missed prayers, did not pray. Shaitan was overwhelming, was controlling. And with the grace of Allah, Allah Azza wa Jal sent His light, penetrated their hearts, filled their lives with iman, faith, belief, and certainty. Now, they are feeling deep remorse, and they don't know about the previous days that they've missed prayers, missed a lot of good things that they did not do. And the most important thing for them is prayer. So they ask, what should we do? And the answer is, nothing. Those who did not pray, they were not considered to be Muslims. And I know this sounds a little bit hard, but this is what the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam. He said that between man and blasphemy or shirk is abandoning prayer. And it is overwhelming. The evidence is from the Quran and from the Sunnah that those who do not pray are not Muslims. However, the Prophet tells us, ﷺ, not only that, those who miss a prayer deliberately without a legitimate reason, they cannot make it up. The Prophet said, ﷺ, whoever prays, whoever sleeps, that is, whoever sleeps over a prayer or forgets it, he must pray it as soon as he remembers or wakes up. There is no expiation for it other than that. So the Prophet ﷺ said that praying it as soon as you remember it is its expiation, meaning that if you did not sleep and forget, you deliberately postponed the prayer until the following prayer was due, then you have no legitimate reason and there's no expiation for you. So even if you pray it, it will not be accepted from you. Therefore, all what you have to do, brother Ahmed, is ask Allah Azza wa Jal for forgiveness, and Allah will forgive you, and try to offer as voluntary prayers as you can. Night prayers, prayers when you're in the masjid between the adhan and the iqamah, etc. Zuhair from the Netherlands is asking about his son who's 20 years of age and he wants to get married, but after his marriage, each spouse would live with his parents because they don't have money, and he as a father does not have money to help him. So he's asking, is this okay? And the answer is, yes, it is okay. See, a marriage contract has pillars. These pillars are fulfilled. That is, there is a proposal, and there is acceptance, and there is the consent of the guardian and of the girl, alhamdulillah, with the presence of two witnesses. So he names the dowry, the marriage is done. She is his wife. Where they live is something that is not connected to the contract. So for the time being, for his young age, in a country such as the Netherlands or in Europe general, it is highly recommended for the parents to help their children. It is extremely important that we help our children to get married as soon as possible. If we don't have the financial means, but we have 50-50, in the sense as in the scenario of brother Zuhair, the man or the boy would marry, but each would live in his parents' house. She is his wife and he is her husband. They can meet in a motel, they can meet in one of their parents' houses, and they can do what married people do, so that they would stay away from adultery, they would stay away from fornication, they would close a very great and big gate in the face of Satan, so that he could not penetrate their hearts and corrupt them. Karimullah from Saudi Arabia.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, I have 2 questions.
Okay.
Yeah, the first question is, we are staying near Abha, the place name is Al-Namaz.
Okay.
When we are going for Umrah or Hajj, we are crossing Miqat.
Okay.
Okay. So actually now the travel agency which are taking us to Hajj, they are asking us to come to Jeddah. So suppose if we are going to Jeddah, we are crossing Miqat.
Okay.
So is it compulsory that sacrifice? Otherwise directly we can go to Miqat and then wear the ihram and then go to Jeddah. From there, from Jeddah we can accompany by a travel agent to Hajj.
Do you have a permission, tasrih?
Yeah. No, we didn't get it. It is with the travel agent.
Ah, okay. But you have it officially?
Yes.
Okay. Second question.
Yeah. Second question is regarding the sacrifice. My father and mother are staying in India. My family is here. So is it compulsory to give sacrifice here in Saudi Arabia and also in India?
Okay. I will answer your question, inshallah. Brother Karimullah is asking 2 questions. The first one is regarding his Hajj expedition. Now he's going for Hajj, and as we know, the government of Saudi Arabia made it mandatory for those who want to go for Hajj to obtain a permit, so that they could manage the number of pilgrims going for Hajj. And they give this permit once every 5 years, whether you're a citizen or an expatriate. The brother has a problem, is that the agency he's going for Hajj with is based in Jeddah, and he is from Abha or from An-Namas, from Asir. So while coming to collect his permit, he will be passing by the miqat. If he offers his ihram from the miqat, they will not allow him to go in, they will not allow him to cross, because he does not have a permit. And if he comes without offering ihram and takes his permit and makes his ihram from Jeddah, he has made a mistake and he has abandoned something that was mandatory. Therefore he has to slaughter a fidya, a sheep, and in the haram area, and distribute it to the poor around the haram area. So he's asking what to do. Well, the answer would be, you have to try to make them send you the permit by DHL, and this would take them 1 day. Alhamdulillah, you have no problem with that. Once you get the permit, you offer your ihram from the miqat and come. There are other ways, but these ways also would be sinful, and it may be used by others who do not have permits, such as you can make your ihram before the miqat. When you come to the checkpoint, you wear your normal clothes without wearing anything on your head, without wearing shoes, only slippers. And this would mean that once you pass the checkpoint and wear your ihram, you have to pay expiation, one of the 3, either to slaughter or to fast 3 days or to feed 6 poor people. I don't see any other way around. As for your second question, we have a question from Nigeria, Sister Mima.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
I just want to ask them, verify, what if a sister doesn't have a mahram, maybe she doesn't have a brother, and then her father is always busy and she doesn't have time to always go out with her when she has to travel. So in that case, what does she do?
Only for traveling.
Hello?
Yes, only for travel. You're asking about traveling or Hajj?
Yeah, when you're traveling, Hajj or any form of travel.
I will answer your question, inshallah.
Yeah.
Brother Karimullah's second question was about al-udhiyah. And this is a sacrifice that residents offer to Allah Azza wa Jal if they do not go for Hajj. So he's asking, I'm going for Hajj and my parents are in India. So should I pay 2 sacrifices? And the answer is no. Your parents, you have nothing to do with them, because your father has to have a sacrifice for himself and his family in India. So this is separate than yours. Yours is a separate sacrifice than his. Now for you, because you're going for Hajj, a person who's on his pilgrimage does not offer udhiyah. Udhiyah is only for residing people. The people who go for Hajj, they offer hadi, a sacrifice that to be slaughtered in the holy shrines in Mina. Whether they're offering tamattu or qiran, this is mandatory. If a person is offering ifrat, then this is not mandatory. If he wants to sacrifice, alhamdulillah, Allah will accept this. But if he doesn't, he does not have to do this. Therefore, you do not have to slaughter any sheep as long as you are not residing as udhiyah. Sister Mima from Nigeria, she's asking, if a woman does not have a mahram, she doesn't have any male relative, so how can she travel? How can she perform Hajj? Well, it's very simple. She can't. Because traveling is not a necessity. Hajj is one of the pillars of Islam. However, the Prophet ﷺ told us, well, Allah Azza wa Jal told us in the Quran, that it is an obligatory act upon those from Allah Azza wa Jal. Hajj is obligatory upon those who have the means. So what is meant by the means? You have financial means, money, and you have the ability health-wise, and you have a mahram if you are female. So I would not expect someone who is broke to come and say, Akhi, if I'm broke, how can I perform Hajj? The answer is easy. You can't. You don't perform Hajj. And I don't expect someone who is chronically ill and he's on his dying bed and he says, if I'm this ill, how can I perform Hajj? We say you don't have to, because Allah Azza wa Jal forgave you, pardoned you. And likewise, if a woman does not have a mahram, Allah pardons her and she does not have to go for Hajj. As for traveling, it is not permissible at all for her to travel without a mahram, unless in very, very limited cases, and that is if it's life-threatening, if it's something that it is extremely important, then yes, we may look at it case by case. But someone who wants to go to Europe to study, someone who wants to go to Disneyland for fun, for a vacation, without a mahram, this is not permissible. Sister Aisha from Nigeria. Assalamu rahmatullah.
If your husband, your mother-in-law, is it compulsory for your husband to take care of his mother-in-law? And if it's not compulsory, if your husband is having the financial need to take care of his mother-in-law, and he's not doing that and he's giving the money to outsiders, and some mother-in-law is being able to eat is a problem, and he's not giving her, what is Islam rule on that?
You're asking about the husband giving the money to his mother-in-law or his mother?
No, his mother-in-law.
Giving it as help, charity?
No, as a charity, or to help her, or to feed them.
Okay, I will answer your question, inshallah. Sister Aisha, if I got your question correct, what is the ruling on the husband giving charity to his mother-in-law. Of course, he is rewarded for that, because he is, first of all, feeding someone who's in need. He's aiding and giving assistance to someone who needs the money, who is poor. And secondly, he is making his wife happy. So, inshallah, he is rewarded twice. But is it mandatory for him to do this? The answer is no. If he sees that others are in more need, or he wants to give the money to other people, this is his right, and it's not mandatory for him at all to help his mother-in-law. It is something that is good, it is something that is recommended, but it is not mandatory on him to do so. Okay, Yusra from Oman. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, ya Sheikh.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me, Sheikh?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Yes. Sheikh, I want to ask one question. It's very important for me.
Okay.
Is that 15 years back, I went for Hajj. I went for Hajj with my husband and my children, and there was one more family with us, 2 families together. We went to Hajj from Oman by car to Saudi Arabia, Makkah.
Okay.
And when we reached Miqat, we took an ihram, and then we went for Umrah. And then afterwards, we were staying in Makkah with my niece. She was staying there. I mean, her husband and she, both of them were working. So we were staying in their house. So my question is, at the time of dinner, we were in her house. We were going to Haram after Umrah. We were just going for Tawaf or for prayers, and all that we were doing. But on 8th of Dhul-Hajj, when we went to Mina, there we didn't get a proper place. I mean, the khayma,
the tent.
The tent.
Okay.
Yes, the tent where they gave us was very crowded, and there was not enough place for us to sit there, pray, or take rest or sleep or eat or anything. So what we did with the ladies and the children, they were sitting in one corner inside the tent, and my husband and this other gentleman, they were outside. They were sitting on the road. So, and this other family, they have a mother also with them, an old lady, a very old lady. She was also sitting comfortable there. So this other person, the other gentleman who was with us, so he told us, he just suggested from his side, because he was worried about his mother and the children not having proper place to sleep or eat or anything. So he said, do one thing, the morning times, maybe around 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, we will go to my niece's boat in Makkah from Mina. From Mina, we'll go there and we'll sleep, eat something, and then we will come back to Mina before evening. So then we were doing that. We were doing that. We were going to the house in the morning,
I understand.
like 8 o'clock,
Okay.
9 o'clock,
Okay.
and sleeping, eating, and freshing up, and take rest, and come back in the evening.
So you spent the whole evening
I
there.
just want to know whether this is a right thing we did, or this is a mistake we have done.
You've spent the night, all of it there. Okay. Yusra, or I forgot, whatever. The sister is asking a very simple question. What is the ruling on spending the daytime in Mecca while spending the night time in Mina? The answer is, it's permissible. The scholars say that it is mandatory for pilgrims to spend more than half of the night in Mina. The rest of the day, it's okay for them to go to Mecca, to go to Aziziyah, to stay in Muzdalifah. It's okay outside the borders of Mina. But they have to spend more than half of the night. So if Maghrib is at 6 o'clock, presumably, and Fajr is at 6 o'clock, this is 12 hours. Half of it is 6 hours. So if you spend 6 hours and 15 minutes, whether from the beginning, from the middle, or from the end, if you spend 6 hours and 15 minutes in Mina, this is permissible. Whatever you do afterwards, if you go to Mecca to rest in a house in Mecca, wash, eat, and do whatever you want to do in the remaining time, this is permissible and there's nothing wrong in that, inshallah. Okay, we still have a few questions pending, but I'm afraid that this is all the time we have. So until we meet next time, fi amanillah, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test.